Let's move over to Knoxville and talk about the Tennessee Volunteers. And we have another super fan who has recorded a preview of his beloved Tennessee Volunteers, and that's a longtime listener, Brandon, uh, a Tennessee native who now I believe is living in West Virginia, but still holds Tennessee close to his heart. Let's look at his preview.
Hey, Brew and Shavers, it's Brandon, Hattie, and Hawkins with our 2023 Tennessee football predictions. We think that as a ceiling, the Vols can go as high as 11-1, floor 8-4, because they do have a pretty tough schedule. They have Florida, A&M, Alabama, and Georgia, of course. But as a more realistic take, we think that Tennessee can head into Alabama week 6-0 with victories over Florida and A&M both. Take an L to Alabama, win, heading into Georgia week, take another L, win out against Vanderbilt, finish the season at 10-2, and hopefully end up with a really good bowl game as a result, and finish the overall season at 11-2. Anyways, that's what I think will happen. Go Big Orange.
Go Big Orange.
That was fantastic.
That was great. We appreciate Hattie and Hawkins joining in on that. And Brandon was he's a huge Tennessee fan, but that was a pretty unbiased preview.
Except for the words "went out against Vandy." It was pretty unbiased. It was pretty good. I'll give him credit. But yeah, that was a great breakdown of their schedule. It really was.
Let's talk a little bit about Tennessee. Josh Heupel returns for his third year in Knoxville with a record of 18-8. His sixth year overall with a record of 46-16. Last year they finished 11-2, 6-2 in the SEC. They've got some changes. Not only did they lose Hendon Hooker, they actually lost him at the end of last year, which was a huge blow because they were really rocking and rolling. Joey Halzell, who's the quarterback coach, has been promoted to offensive coordinator. Replacing Alex Golesh, who's gone to UCF. I believe last year, wasn't Tennessee the number one offense in the nation?
Yes, in several different categories.
They bring back quarterback Joe Milton, who's big, strong, and has a rocket for an arm. Mm-hmm. The only question is the accuracy and the touch. I think I heard someone on the Feinbaum show say, I hope he doesn't throw 100-mile-per-hour ball for a screen pass.
Exactly.
I think that's one of the questions that we'll see this year. He's got some great receivers to throw to. Brew McCoy is coming back. Squirrel White, how about that for you talked about names?
Definitely on the all-name team.
Yeah. We'll have to do an all-SEC name team.
Yeah.
They returned their leading rusher from last year, Jalen Wright. When you look at this Tennessee team, and we know Josh Heupel is an offensive guy,
right?
Great quarterback in college. He's been successful everywhere he's been as a coach. Do you expect more fireworks from Tennessee again this year on the offensive side of the ball?
I think when it comes to coordinator change, I don't know how much of a difference that makes because it's Josh Heupel's offense. So will there be maybe some different wrinkles, some different kind of cadence or in what you see in the way plays are called? That could be, but I think it's ultimately going to be a very, very small thing. To me, when it comes to this offense, the only question is Joe Milton, because whether it be at Michigan or at Tennessee, Joe Milton has never finished a season that he began as the starter. He's lost that starting position every time he started a season in that position. If I'm a Tennessee fan, that scares me because it's exactly what you just said. Does he have an incredible fastball? Yes. But let's talk baseball for a little bit. Unless you've got an incredible fastball that is 100 miles per hour all the time as a pitcher, you're going to be a closer. Outside of that, if you've got a great fastball as a pitcher, what do you have to have? You got to have other pitches that complement it. And the other pitches are what scare me for him. What does a screen pass look like? What does a dump off look like? That's one of those bubble screens where you're just getting it out to the edge to let, a Brew McCoy or somebody like that really take off down the field. somebody coming across the middle on just a little 7-yard, little hitch or something? Does the football stick in their face mask, because he throws it so hard and inaccurate? And to me, that's the $1 million question. And because of that, I'm not sold. Now, we talk about names that have been difficult. I'm just going to say his first name. Nico, the 5-star quarterback recruit, is standing there waiting, obviously. So there's some assurance or some reassurance possibly in that. But honestly, I want Joe Milton to succeed, because it would be a great story in college football. Most importantly, would be a great story for him to have all of these things stacked up against you, to lose your starting position as many times as he has, and then come back for your senior year and tell this kind of story. Absolutely fantastic. But if I'm a Tennessee fan, it scares me, and I don't know what it looks like if he collapses and loses that starting position again. To me, that's very scary, and that's the single biggest question about this Tennessee offense.
Joe Milton doesn't need to carry the burden of the offense this year.
Right.
If Tennessee can run the ball, last year they were 9-0 when they rushed for more than 155 yards. If they can get that ground game going, that takes a lot of the pressure off of Milton.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the defense. Led by Tim Banks in his third season, they were second in the SEC in turnovers forced. They have a really stout red zone defense that we saw last year. They've got some great guys at linebacker, a transfer coming in from BYU. They've got Aaron Beasley, their leading tackler, coming back. Strong safeties, even though they might have some issues with their DBs. Overall, it looks like a pretty solid unit for the Vols.
Their defense got a pretty raw spin from the national media, because last year, and they really got talked down a lot, and didn't necessarily deserve it, because their run defense was pretty incredible. I mean, this is a defense that held LSU to 13 points, that kept Will Levis out of the end zone. So the thing that they have to have this year to take a step forward and kind of shake off some of those the rumblings of the past is exactly what you said. It's all about DBs. That defensive backfield has to take a step forward, because you can't run the kind of offense that they run and leave the other opposing team's offense on the field as much as they do, and run and give up big plays like they did. That has to not happen in order for them to take a step forward. And the way they've been recruiting, you would think it's going to. So I think defense is a much more secure feeling if I'm a Tennessee fan going into this season than the offense is.
Darren, it's only been recently that my nightmares about the LSU Tennessee game have quit. Thank you for rekindling those. I appreciate that.
Well, Tennessee beat Vanderbilt 46-49 to nothing, or 65 to nothing. I try not to think about it, so it could be worse.
But you're a Vanderbilt fan. You're used to that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to getting beat by Tennessee.
Let's look at Tennessee's schedule. They start off with Virginia. That game will be played in Nashville. Austin Peay, they travel to Florida. They have UTSA coming to Knoxville. They've got South Carolina at home, A&M at home. They go to Alabama. They go to Kentucky. They've got UConn coming to Knoxville. They travel to Missouri, and then they end up with home games against Georgia and Vanderbilt.
Is it possible that they do go into this Alabama game 6-0?
I think it's very possible.
I mean, when you look at that schedule, to me, the only thing, because I'm not buying right now, I'm not buying Florida and South Carolina at all. Especially we talked about during the Florida preview, the fact that it's going to be in Gainesville. That has to make you take pause, because that is not. I mean, as far back as Peyton Manning's days in the Big Orange, that has not went well when they played Gainesville. But as much as we like Billy Napier, this is not the same Florida that they're playing in Gainesville that it has been in years past. So I still think that's a win, but you still have to at least take a little bit of a pause, because that is in Gainesville. The unpredictability of A&M to me is the biggest question mark of that 6-0. But I think that's really, really possible that they go into that game 6-0. And then really honestly, the scariest part of their schedule is those next two games: Alabama, Kentucky. Going to Missouri is a little bit difficult, and then of course you've got Georgia. So that's an interesting schedule. You get that kind of momentum, man. You're talking about adding some flavor to that Alabama game. To me, it's still a most likely an Alabama win because of the location, because it's in Alabama. But still, you roll into that game 6-0 coming off a Texas A&M win. Man, that's a nice game. That's going to be a fun game to watch if that's the way it sets up.
I think they beat Alabama.
Really? You think they go to Alabama and pull that off? Wow.
I'm going on record.
That is a
And
bold take, my friend.
And if I'm wrong, we will delete this episode from.
Why is there 18 seconds of blank space on that?